Hello, and welcome to Connections for Change. It is with great pleasure to introduce Patrick Loftus-Hills, Managing Director at Moelis Company, Monash alumni, and Chairman of the Monash Global Leaders Network Advisory Committee here in New York City. Patrick is a metals and mining investment banker focused on mergers and acquisitions and capital markets advisory assignments. We're really grateful to have Patrick here today to respond to questions from the Monash alumni community on leadership, investment banking, and the mining sector, all of which, of course, are critical to the global economy in these uncertain times. Patrick, thank you for joining us today. Why don't you start by telling us how this is affecting you personally? Where are you right now?
Well, first of all, John, thank you so much for reaching out to me, and I hope you and your family are doing well. And it's a pleasure to be talking to you through the Connections for Change program that you've developed as part of the response to the pandemic and to the way the university is reaching out to alumni. Me personally, well, as you know, I live in New York, but we have been able to decamp out of the city. We're very fortunate to have been able to have done that. So we're just outside Manhattan. My husband and our dog came out here 7 or 8 weeks ago, and we're doing well and working hard for our clients from our desks here, and in a situation which is very difficult. And I think that when we go back into the city, which we do on occasion, we see the city that never sleeps really taking a nap. There's no one on the streets. People are taking the situation very seriously, which is good to see. But one of the biggest things that we see, and one of the bigger changes that we see in New York, other than the physical of lack of people on the streets, is that people's attitudes have changed. And I think people have become, have gone from being quite impersonal and gruff, which is the norm for New York on the subway and likewise, to being very helpful, very generous, particularly to the people out there who, in the restaurant industry, for example, who don't have jobs at the moment, and they're being very kind. So we're seeing a very different situation in the city, very different situation even outside the city, the way people are interacting and communicating.
Yeah, absolutely. And Patrick, alumni are interested to know what has been integral to leading your team through the current crisis.
Yeah, it's John, it's incredibly important that we keep our team together. First, I think the most important thing with my team has been communication, and communication by video and by phone, because we have a lot to thank Zoom for, a lot to thank all of the video providers for, because I think when we're sitting at our desks and we can interact personally, we rely a lot on email, and a lot of communication happens by email. But in situations like this, it's very important to have personal contact by video, by phone, to hear people's voices and to see their faces, and it makes an enormous difference. I know even communicating with you, John, on a day-to-day basis, we're communicating by video now, which we hadn't done in the past, and I think it makes it very effective. Secondly, we say to our teams, stay busy, reach out to your clients. They want to hear from you, and I think my team's done an extraordinary job of doing that and keeping busy and looking after our clients. But we also have to turn off on occasion as well. We can't be full on the whole time. The third thing that I've said to the team, and the team has been doing, is to observe what's happening. We're seeing a lot of people having to make decisions with imperfect information at the moment. And you see politicians, governors, prime ministers, others having to make decisions with imperfect information. And I heard a doctor the other day say, look, we can give advice from a medical perspective to a politician as to what decision to take. But they've got a lot of other factors, economic factors, political factors to take into account in reaching decisions.
Sure.
And I think that when you have imperfect information, it's very difficult. Watching how they use that imperfect information to come to decisions. And then, importantly, watching how they communicate those decisions. The impact that empathy has on communicating these difficult decisions and communicating difficult outcomes, and the impact of being direct and honest in those communications. And in an uncertain time, it's amazing what you can observe and learn. And what we say to our team, which is very important, is observe and learn what you're seeing, because the learnings and how you can apply that to your career as an investment banker is very important, because we often deal in imperfect information and we're always communicating that to our client, and learning from that is important. So there's lots of good things that could come out of the way people are dealing with this as well.
Sure. And Patrick, you talk about being in uncertain times. So how are you seeing that impact your industry of metals and mining?
Yeah, metals and mining has been through rough times on many occasions. And I think we're used to volatile markets. It's also meant that we've built up in the metals and mining industry a lot of resilience to difficult situations. And I think that's been very, very helpful to the mining industry, particularly in these difficult times. And I think you'll see some mining industry executives been asked by government to help them because of their ability to adapt and their resilience to shocks of this sort of nature. The second thing, though, is that to say about our industry is that the demand side's been impacted for mining products quite substantially, but then so's the supply side. So we're seeing a lot of mines having to close because of COVID within the mines. We're seeing a lot of the steel mills, for example, having to close because of the lack of demand. But at the end of the day, I think we expect supply demand to both come back quite quickly, and that the mining industry will get through this quite well. I think that one of the learnings for us in the United States is what's happened in China. And we've seen in China industrial production back already to 85% of where it was prior to the, well, at the same time last year. And I think mining activity is up 120% from the same time last year, because it's been closed for the last couple of months, and they're running hard to replace what was lost during that period. So I think we'll see the whole world come back very quickly once we're able to reopen. Unfortunately, it's not the same for the services side of the business, where I think that will be very much impacted, both personal services and other industries. I think that's where the economy is going to be hit most, is in the services side rather than in the industrial production and mining side of the equation.
Yeah, and of course, alumni around the world are impacted. So Patrick, how can we help them?
Look, I think we can help them a lot by helping them find their community and to interact. And you, John, are a perfect example of that, being there for the alumni community. And we're very grateful for that. But reach out to other alumni. The shared experience of all of the alumni in this situation, I think, is important. It's important to communicate, as I said, with our team. It's as much as important to communicate with your team, with your clients, but also with your friends, as I'm sure people are doing through all sorts of communication methods, but also with alumni in the same way. And I think we can continue to contribute and continue to help students and alumni help each other through this. And it's a great network we've got here at Monash University. So I think that utilizing that network and taking advantage of that network and connecting, not just for the day-to-day, but for change, as we see a lot of change happening, will be very valuable.
Absolutely. And to close, Patrick, how do you personally remain resilient during these uncertain times?
Yeah, well, as I said with my team, I'm working hard. I'm reaching out to clients. I'm communicating a lot via Zoom and other video methods. I think I've done 3 or 4 video meetings already today, to the Middle East, to India, to Australia, now with you. And there's a lot of things that we're doing to try and help our clients. But on top of that, personally, look, I do FaceTime training with my trainer every other day, where I try to keep fit. But he also gets a paycheck every day when I do that. So it's helping on both sides. It's also very fortunate that being out here with my husband, we're able to have lunch and dinner every day. So we do stop to do that. Fortunately, he's a very good cook, and I benefit from that. I do the cleanup, but he's incredibly adept at the kitchen, which is very fortunate. And then I do my travel time once a day. My travel time is the walk to a beach with my dog, who absolutely loves that. And that keeps us a little bit fit and gets us out and about and away from the phone for half an hour.
Well, that's a fitting way to close this Connections for Change interview. Thank you again, Patrick, for your insights into the state of play in New York and for your time today.
It's a pleasure, John, and I hope all alumni stay safe and well through this difficult time.
Absolutely. And thank you to our Monash alumni community for your insightful questions.